Okay, welcome back to the Harrisonville Community Center where we're doing the Hoops for Hope project for Hope Haven. We have got the 3 o'clock game. It's going to be between, let me make sure, between Lowery, Pleasant Hill, and McEnaney from Lowery from Pleasant Hill and McEnaney from Harrisonville. I'm going to give you a rundown on the players. And that is, if you're looking at it, in the, I believe the red is going to be your hometown Harrisonville 5 and 6th grade girls. That is Julia Davis, Isabella Johnson, Jocelyn Lavlock, Sadie Love, Camara Mitchell, Avery Spangler, and Anna Tews. For Pleasant Hill in the teal is going to be, and we've got his first names, Chloe, Sadie, Ray, Alexis, Kennedy, MJ, and Gabby. We're here with Hoops for Hope, presented by 4Ts.com. And there is a shot and missed. And
Gary,
Chad is back here.
I want to compliment you.
What's that?
About today. I've been really impressed with your interviewing skills. Now, obviously, I know a little bit of that probably comes from your background in the Highway Patrol and having to interview people for backgrounds and stuff like that, but you do a really good job of asking the right questions. I want to applaud you for that because, seriously, you usually give me a hard time that I talk too much and all that good stuff. And you're the stat guy, but you did an amazing job today. I just want to let you know that.
Well, thank you. I mean, that type of stuff comes naturally to me. Talking about, the play on the court or the play on the field, play-by-play is not my cup of tea. That's the reason you do such a wonderful job and are able to do it and present it to those that are listening. But that's not me. I know what my place is, and I know what makes me feel comfortable. And like you just said, the interviewing stuff does come natural. I enjoy that kind of stuff, especially if I've got a little of understanding or background to it, which I do in some of that stuff that we talked about earlier today.
And when we were talking about that, it was a great putback by Sadie Love to get the basket and put the Harrisonville team on the board. So it's Pleasant Hill is in the blue, Lady Cats in that red. And what I've really been impressed by is how well the Lady Cats are passing the ball around.
They are.
And also I want to say, we don't have this isn't our typical day of play-by-play for sure. You get to the high school level, it's a little bit different basketball, and there's a little bit more crispness to it. But our deal today was to get these kids on in a video, so a lot of people haven't been able to come. They can watch it, and they can watch their grandkid or their niece or their nephew or their brother or their sister, or whatever it may be, so that they can see these games. And
plus they can go back and watch it. The players can go back and watch it if they want, or if they weren't able to be here today but were busy doing something else, they can go back and watch it and enjoy it. We may not necessarily be doing the play-by-play, but the video is up the whole time. They know who their players are, who their friends, their relatives, their daughter and son are. And so they can at least watch that. And this is something, years back that I would archive, I would keep as a memento to show, 20, 25 years down the line.
Well, and I'm pretty sure you've got 2 CDs full of Chad Grammer's play-by-play of your son. Now, do you have all
3
three?
years.
Do you have all 3 of them?
I've got the video of all 3. I don't have the audio of all 3.
Now, do you have the audio? The most important thing, do you have the audio of the Pleasant Hill Into the Darkness night?
I think so.
So, if you're not familiar, and what a better day to talk about it, and what a better time when Harrisonville's playing Pleasant Hill. So, for all y'all that are not familiar, I've been broadcasting Harrisonville sports since 2007. And if you want another funny story, I'll tell you the story about the first time I met Jerry Forschler. You would have never believed that we'd actually work together and almost co-own a business 15 years later. But that's a story coming up here in a few minutes. So I've been broadcasting for 14 years. My first, I think 10 or, I've been broadcasting 16 years. My first 11 years was going for KDKD Radio out of Clinton. A mentor, I would say, of mine really got me into the business. A couple of them down there at KDKD, Bob May and Jim Lawson. And I've been on it ever since. I've been doing this for so long. I have a blast doing it. So that's how I've met a lot of people from Harrisonville, is doing all these broadcasts. Gary Davidson, who's standing next to me today, one of those guys. Well, his son, Zach, was a 3-year starter for Harrisonville at quarterback, ended up going to K-State before transferring to Missouri Southern and getting his degree, and now is a member of the Highway Patrol. So when Zach was playing, we had a game in Pleasant Hill, and I was still working for KDKD at the time, and we were doing internet radio, and this was pre-video days. This was you got on, you had to log on to a computer. You know, you feel like it's archaic times how long ago this was, and it was only like 6 years ago. So you'd get on, you'd log on, and you'd listen. You'd have an audio broadcast. It was just like listening to the radio, except for you were doing it through the internet. We're broadcasting this game. Brett Jones was my color commentator at the time. Sorry, I had to stop. That was one heck of a pick set out there by the young lady from Pleasant Hill, and the poor girl from Harrisonville looked like she got shot out of a cannon and across the floor. I mean, I try not to chuckle, but it was a great pick. So anyway, I regress. Back to my story. So we're broadcasting this game, and I don't even remember what quarter it was. All of a sudden, half of the bank of lights goes out on the field in Pleasant Hill. And
being you.
Right. And if memory serves me correctly, it was
the west.
It was the west side of the field was in darkness. So there's a long delay, and me and Brett are going back and forth, and we're trying to waste time, and you had a little bit of text message. People could text you stuff, and we were doing some stuff on Facebook, and Brett was asking some trivia questions, because if you want anybody that knows anything more about Harrisonville football, Brett Jones could tell you, who ran for 47 yards in a game in 1962 against Pleasant Hill. He could tell you that. Anyway, so we're doing this game, and Pleasant Hill has a lady that works in the press box and has, I think, since 1934. And she's Gary's laughing at me. She's up in the press box.
Right next to you all.
Right? I mean, literally, like standing, like where we're standing up here if anybody was watching. And she's very knowledgeable. She's been doing stats, like I said, forever. And we have to go to a break. We have an extended break because we have this catastrophe going on with half the lights out. And I say, well, we'll be right back after this. Apparently somebody forgot to pay the light bill in Pleasant Hill. We go to a break. I take my headset off, and this lady proceeds to berate me. If they didn't pay the light bill, they'd all be out. And I said, ma'am, we're just having some fun here. She did not take too kindly to our fun. So 30-minute delay probably, and they decide to come up with probably the most harebrained idea I've ever heard anyway. They're going to play on half a field.
Now I'm thinking, how do you do that? But obviously they came up with a way.
So the way that they were going to do it is if it got to midfield, and let's say you had like a 4-yard run from the 48 to the other 48, they would just turn you around and go back towards the lights. Playing that way for a good 5, 10, maybe quarter, I don't know. Zach Davidson, a quarterback, takes a read option around the outside, and down the sideline he goes. And my play call was, and there goes Zach Davidson into the darkness for 6, because he ran Because, I mean, it wasn't like he could stop
Turn
it.
around.
Well, I mean, like, what was he supposed to do at midfield? He was supposed to turn around and go back the other way. So Zach has one of the nighttime touchdowns of Harrisonville, and that was one of my many, many fun times I've had over the years, but it'll always be one of my most memorable because of everything that went into that story.
Yeah, it wasn't just Zach. You know, really tells the story is what led up to that was, you know, and you know, I'm surprised when you got off, you didn't just say, no, they didn't pay the light bill. They only paid half the light bill. That's the only reason half the lights are out. But
well, and then to make that night even more memorable, I kept calling them P. Hill throughout the game. And this is Brett Jones's favorite story ever. She goes, it's Pleasant Hill, not P. Hill. And Brett goes, I've never seen anybody more deadpan. Chad Grammer turns and looks at this lady and goes, that's what your shirt says. Needless to say, she probably does not like me very well.
Well, and I want to preface this, or not preface this, but follow this up by, hey, they are Pleasant Hill is our competitors. They're the Cass County Clash. We always enjoy that game because we always know when it's on the schedule, it's going to be a fun game. It's always going to be a competitive game, and we love Pleasant Hill. You know, we just love the opportunity sometimes when it presents itself to be able to have a little fun.
And you know, and that's really what it all boils down to. I have great respect for their head basketball coach who's over there right now, and that is Ryan Messenger. He's been their coach since I've been doing the Harrisonville games, and he's really the last holdover from an era of all those coaches that had been around for so long. You know, we don't have the Grain Valley team in the conference anymore. We had Coach Herbert, who's still at Grain Valley. And then you've got a lot of the other guys that are no longer there. Ty Hames, who was up at Oak Grove, he's no longer there. He's an admin. Coach Mercer, obviously, is down now, an assistant coach at Nixa. And you've got all these different guys that aren't around, and Coach Messenger's been there for so long. They used to have a great women's coach over there. Nothing against Coach Reeves. Love Coach Reeves as well. That just shows you how old I am. Coach Reeves was Angela's student teacher several years ago, so he's now the head coach. They had Coach Mounts, Dustin Mounts, who was over there. He was a great player. I called his games against Harrisonville. He was that one kid. I always give him a hard time, and I still tell you to this day, talk about how rude he was in high school. He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, I was a terrible high schooler. And he was one of those. He had some great battles with Clint, Sam, and those kids growing up. And just I do have a lot of friends over there, and I have a lot of respect for a lot of those guys over in Pleasant Hill. Jim Underwood, who was the girls' coach there for years. All those guys have done a great job of making the rivalry what it is. And, I mean, there's some other stuff that goes into the rivalry on certain levels of, you know, kids going from one school to the other and things like that. But, nevertheless, we won't get into that stuff. We'll just have fun.
Oh,
and, I love
I
it.
hope everybody was watching. Ball goes down there, and Harrisonville, I'm not sure who it was.
I think that was, I believe that was Cameron Mitchell.
And she's
Tamara
on her
Mitchell.
knees with the defender kind of in her face, and she throws the ball up for a basket, and it gets two, which ties the score at 4-4 between the two.
That was awesome. Love that. So off the knees and in it goes. And I believe, did they raise the rims back up? Because I know Braxton's group plays at 8 foot. I don't think they're on 8 foot anymore. So that was even more impressive.
And if you're watching right now, you've got one of the referees talking to one of the players. This is the other thing I mentioned earlier. Not only they're getting the coaching from the bench itself, but they're also getting it from the two referees that are out there. And they're really good at trying to help the players understand certain things, how to position themselves, what different calls are and stuff. And so I love that aspect of this game in the youth because it provides coaching all around. And, you know, there's competition, but it's also for the youth to be able to learn, mature, and understand the game and have fun at the game.
Two guys that are so good at doing that are coaching as they're out on the floor reffing. Coach Jackson, who's at Butler, in the summertime when he's working with Tri-Lake Shootouts, him and Shannon Shockley, who's an official out of Clinton, those two will work together. And when they're in a game and they'll call something, they make sure, even if it's a high school kid that's a junior going to be a senior, explain to them what they need to do differently, why he called that call, because you got to have that dialogue.
You do.
You don't want kids getting upset and angry because they got a foul called on them. If an official can say, hey, I understand, I know you don't like to get fouls called, but this is what you did, and you can explain to him what he did, he's going to be way more receptive to that, and the kid's going to learn more from that.
Oh, yeah, it's not don't do something. It's you shouldn't do that, and here's why, and here's what you can do to correct it. It gives a corrective action with the you can't be doing that. And that's what I love about this. And I've been watching this all day with this group of referees that are down there, and both of them are so very good about working with the young women and young men that are out there on the court, because that's what this is for. It's to learn how to play the game, how to have fun playing the game, and learn the mechanics of it. So,
yeah, it's been fun to watch. This a low-scoring game. We've had some high-scoring games too here today as well, and I think that's a testament to some of the youth coaches that have done a great job this year. This game is 4-4, 2:38 to go here in the first half of this one. So a low-scoring affair in this one.
And I said earlier, this is Harrisonville Pleasant Hill. A lot of these are competitors on the court, but they're also friends off the court. There's a lot of these young women that are going to develop or have already developed relationships with these competitors that they're playing against today.
Yeah, you know what? One of the things I remember from several years ago, I get my start, do a lot of football, obviously. They probably made our first love basketball as well as, this one right here could live in a gymnasium, I think, over here. And I remember years ago I was the sideline reporter for the McEnaney All-Star game. It was the year Alex Bartlett was on that team for Harrisonville, and it was the McEnaney team. It was the McEnaney game, and I was so impressed with how quickly the Missouri team and the Kansas team came together and played together. And what was odd about that was football is that one sport that you don't get to do that. Like basketball, a lot of these kids will end up playing on a travel team with kids from Pleasant Hill, Ray Peck, maybe Archie or Adrian, all these towns around. Well, yeah, that McEnaney, you can't do that in football. You don't have travel football in the summer. You're playing with your high school team. So it was really a neat situation to see a kid from Pleasant Hill and a kid from Harrisonville on the same team. And one of the things they do at that All-Star game is they trade helmet stickers. And Alex Bartlett was telling me the story of, I don't remember who it was from Pleasant Hill, but they were trading helmet stickers, and he goes, "That was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life." He goes, "I'm going to tell you," and speaking of Alex Bartlett, we saw him in here working out earlier. He's one of the assistant coaches at Harrisonville now. But Alex was on, and he goes, it was Kearney. It was a Kearney kid. So they just played Kearney. I don't remember who it was from Kearney. He goes, "You know how hard it was for me to put that big old block K on my helmet?" And he goes, "I think it was just as hard for that kid." He goes, but it was like pulling a Band-Aid off. We both ripped it off at the same time and gave it to the other guy and said, "Okay." But that's one of those things. You see that a lot at college too. In those college All-Star games, they have 7 or 8 different helmet decals on when they end up playing in the Senior Bowl or something. So a lot of unique relationships are built out of youth sports.
Yeah, we talk about basketball as one. Well, baseball is the same way. I remember playing, baseball with kids from Belton, Raymore, Pleasant Hill on a traveling team. And football is a unique one. Normally that doesn't happen until a situation like you said in this particular thing with Alex. Most of the time it is not. It's just usually just your school.
And, we're about to halftime here, and we're talking about, the camaraderie and the travel teams and what can come out of kids getting along and getting a good team together at the youth level and at the level of park and rec. You can start getting into more competitive basketball. And when we talk about competitive basketball, I want to give a shout out to Lacey Dominick. She's one of our great sponsors. Her and Cam Chenoweth have a cohort, so to speak. Cam's with American Family. Lacey's with Shelter insurance.
I'm sorry I yelled into everybody's ear.
He's laughing because I was trying to spit shelter insurance out, and I've got Braxton in my back of my ear going, shelter insurance. So Lacey Dominic, they've got a travel team. They're actually in Springfield this week, and I think they're playing at the Fieldhouse. I'm not 100% sure. Some of you might got to see Lacey come up a couple week or so ago. She was at the basketball game with her daughter Zoe, who turned 10. So Zoe had just had a birthday, but their basketball team's down there. I told her, I said, give me your roster. I said, I'd love to give all your girls a shout out and tell them good luck today down in Springfield. And that's what we want to do today. So hopefully you guys are having a great tournament down there in Springfield. Hopefully you guys get a chance to listen into some of these games and see some of these games, and maybe hopefully someday we'll see them in a tournament or something down the road. We have Natalie Bell, Blair Cecil, Harper Gilmore, Kennedy McNeil, Jakira Spratt, Kylie Dobnicker, Mariah Coffey, Gracie Drogi, Zoe Dominic, and Annabella Crook. And I am sure I probably butchered a couple of those names, girls, and I really apologize for that. Head coach Josh Crook, a lot of people will know that name, helps out with the junior high and high school teams here in Harrisonville, and assistant coach Nate Dominic, who would be Lacey's husband and is also Zoe's dad. So, girls, hope you're having a good time down there in Springfield, and hopefully you guys get some wins and bring back a trophy to Harrisonville.
I believe Natalie Bell is Andy Bell's daughter, who is with the patrol. He's the PIED sergeant, one of the two here in Jefferson City. I think she's been playing basketball, and I'm pretty sure that's her name. I'm trying to look that up, but I'm pretty sure that's Andy's daughter. So, yes, it is Andy's daughter. So, big shout out, obviously, to not all of them, but to Natalie and the family as well.
Well, shout out to all them, and guys, good luck today. Hopefully you get some W's and bring back a trophy back to Harrisonville. We're cheering you on here from Harrisonville. We're having a good time. Hoops for Hope 2021 here in Harrisonville. We were able to raise $1,650 for Hope Haven, which was amazing. But on top of that, we were also able to give countless supplies that they needed. Jerry had a van full of stuff to unload. Angela took over. She said, by her count, 800 diapers and over 1,000 wipes over to Hope Haven as well. So we're going to keep Desi busy over the next couple of days at Hope Haven trying to catalog all of that stuff. So we're going to take a breather. We'll be back with some more. We're winding down the day here in Harrisonville at Hoops for Hope. We got a half of a game and one more full game to go. Hoops for Hope, benefiting Hope Haven of Cass County.
Welcome back to Harrisonville and Harrisonville Community Center, where we are presenting Hoops for Hope, presented by 4Ts.com. benefit the Hope Haven here in Harrisonville, a shelter for women and their children. And yes,
a couple of years ago, I couldn't even get you to bring the game back from a commercial break or a break. Gary's like an old pro today. He's like, welcome back. Here we go.
I've listened to you say welcome back so many times. I should be able to at least say that. Then trying to come up with something to repeat after that is my problem. But
so we're hard at work here. Well, some of us are. Jerry's not hard at work. But Braxton.
If you could have had the camera on Braxton that minute, you would have seen his response to your statement.
So I got to tell my Jerry story. So I told my Gary story. So in 2007 was my first year doing Harrisonville games. So 2005, 2006, and 2006, 2007, I was at Sherwood. So 07, 08 was my first year at Harrisonville. The 2007 football team went undefeated, went to a state title. You might have heard of the kid that was the quarterback, Sean Ransburg, great quarterback. So the very first, the Jamboree, I'd go down to the Jamboree. Now, mind you, that this is right after my future father-in-law had left, which I didn't even know him at the time. So I go to Harrisonville to go to the Jamboree. I wanted to introduce myself to the folks in Harrisonville that were going to be there to broadcast all the games. And I get down there and talking, and I don't know how I don't know really what really happened. So I'm talking to Jerry, and I'm like, well, where are you going to have us set up at in here? I said, we're going to be here next week to broadcast. And he's like, well, why do you think you're setting up in here? And I said, well, we're going to be broadcasting all the games. He goes, well, I've heard that before. And he goes, I'm sorry, if the other guys are here, they're sitting up in here, you're going to be out there. I was like, well, okay. Who in the heck is this guy? And we always tease about that story.
Well, and obviously, where are we still setting up at, number one? And number two is, if it was ever the opportunity for us to be inside, he should have taken it then, because now he's part of what he told us that we had to set up outside.
Well, and
that thing is littler than the press box that we had prior to that was bigger than the one we had.
Yeah, and there's been discussions and opportunities, that really that we've not taken advantage of, but there's been opportunities to try to maybe make that a two-tier press box where we would have double the space
now,
up above.
I do know, and this comes from a pretty reliable source, the previous AD before I got there was Ron Dunham, and he was instrumental in getting that stadium built, I believe. And if you notice, if anybody's been to Harrisonville Stadium, the press box is super tiny. But there's two nice concrete wings on the outside. And the original plans called for the smaller press box, and then they were going to extend and close off those ends as well, and then eventually build above. But Coach Ron Dunham left and went to Leavenworth, and the superintendent at the time was Todd White, went to North Kansas City. So I think those plans got lost in the shuffle down the road. I always joke about that story because me and Jerry have been doing this now since 2016, and we work really well together because of the fact that
he puts up with you.
I mean, I'm kind of hard to like. I'm seriously, but what we do is we play well off of each other. Jerry does such a great job with the equipment and all the stuff's behind the scenes, but he always knows that on the other side of things that I'm going to go out and find the sponsors, and I'm going to be able to come up with ideas like today's idea, because that's my jam, man. Marketing is my jam. And anytime you can market your local businesses and get them some publicity, and you can also help your community by giving to a great cause like Hoops for Hope. And we haven't talked about Back the Blue. We had the Back the Blue event back in September, and that was another harebrained idea of Chad Grammer's. And we had for some reason, I always do these on a Saturday morning, right after a late night of another sporting event.
Yeah, Back the Blue came after Maryville, who had the lights out, which we didn't get home until 1 o'clock.
I still don't care what anybody says, but I think Maryville did that on purpose because they only had 14 guys dressed out of that game. I think they were like, here's what we're going to do. It's going to be almost the end of halftime, and the lights are going to go out. Well, they have a 30-minute delay. And sure enough, I don't know what happened.
They had a lot of pull because it went out almost all over the city.
But I'll tell you what, in joking around and having fun with it, that was one of my favorite broadcasts we've had. I mean, that was a tale of two games. Almost three, really, because you had a 24-0 deficit. You come all the way back. You're leading by 10 points. And then Maryville was able to come back and answer back. And Maryville made it all the way. I want to say, did they make it to the state championship this year? I think they made it close to. I think they played Blair Oaks for the state championship. If I'm not mistaken, I could be totally wrong on that. And that would not be the first time. Ask my wife. Wouldn't be the first time I was wrong. But my son tells me I'm always wrong. But I don't know 100%. But anyway, that was one of those great games that we've called over the years. I've been able to be a part of some really memorable games over the years and some fun stuff, and being able to do this for so long. One of my very first year, this is how long I've been doing it, my very first year of broadcasting was at Sherwood, and Sherwood played Hogan Prep. Hogan Prep had a young man that was a senior by the name of Marcus Denman on their team, and still to this day is probably the best high school basketball player I've ever gotten to witness and call a game in person, and that was Marcus Denman. And if you don't know that name, Marcus Denman later went to the University of Missouri and has played overseas for several years, had a cup of coffee with the San Antonio Spurs as well. So
I'm not going to say you were right. I'm just going to say you weren't wrong.
So I guess I'll take what I can get, right, Braxton?
You can take what you can get on that one, okay?
So
I didn't think I thought that they got beat in the semis, but I was incorrect.
Well, and here's another thing to think about as well, is it was a COVID year, because you talk about a couple of teams that maybe got the short end of the stick this year. Odessa.
Oh.
Undefeated, haven't lost a regular season game since 2018. And they won the state title in 19.
Had to forfeit this year.
They had to forfeit the district championship game against Summit Christian because of COVID.
And Kelly Donahoe's first year at Rockhurst, virtually the same scenario, and they also had to forfeit. I mean, you really hated it to see those, especially the seniors of those teams.
And there's a couple other Kansas City area schools. I believe Lee Summit North was another team that had to forfeit, and somebody else, I believe, in that district. And of course, I wouldn't have wanted to be a part of that district anyway. You had Ray Peck in there, who ended up winning the state championship this year in Class 6, and it was loaded. And you get that Class 6 Kansas City district, it's like, okay, only the strong survive. 1 through 8 could have won that thing, and it's just crazy to see the football that you got going. We got a low-scoring barn burner here. It's 10-4 Pleasant Hill in the fourth quarter, about 7:10 to go.
Pleasant Hill, though, went on a 6-0 run in the third and made it to because it was 4-4 at half. And
I'm still going to go back to the first quarter when we were trying to have your story about the lights going out and that pick that was set in the first quarter. That set the tone for the whole game. My back still hurts from watching that girl scoot across the floor. I mean, when you see a good pick, you get a good pick, and that one was legitimately awesome. So we got about six and a half, a little over 6.5 to go in this one. It's 10-4 Pleasant Hill with a 6-point advantage in this one. We've had a lot of games today. It started at 8 a.m. with this little munchkin over here in skills and drills with Coach Wansing. And then it was after that, we had the 4T's gang, not these guys up here that broadcast with me, but the basketball kiddos down on the lower level. That was pretty fun. We got to experiment in that game. I thought that was fun, experimenting with the mic. The only thing is,
you need a headset.
Yeah, you almost have to have a headset, and I don't know how you would be able to do that. Because
but if anybody can do it, it's Jerry Forstler over there. So, because if we ever want to do it in football, hand signals aren't going to work in football. So he will be able to, if we want to do it, come up with a headset with the wireless mic, so you can not only hear but then talk back to us, and enjoy that kind of. Each year he adds something.
I'm wondering if a Bluetooth headset would not work that you could hook to your computer.
And Jerry's looking at us like, I don't want to think about that right now. I'll think about it later.
But now I think I've got his mind working now. But well, nevertheless, we have had some fun today, and the score
and still having fun.
You got Braxton Belly laughing. He had no idea what's going on. So we have about 4:50 to go here, fourth quarter of game number. I've lost track. We had 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2,
and 3.
So this is the 7th game of the day, the 8th overall broadcast, as we had skills and drills at 8 o'clock as well. It's been fun. It's been real. And it's been real fun.
I'm going to run down. We haven't done this for a while, so I'm going to run down the sponsors again. I think it's important that we recognize them, make sure that everybody knows who has made it possible for this broadcast today. Because without them, we wouldn't have been able to do this. And also without a lot of them, we wouldn't be able to do our normal broadcasts that we normally do. And they are Mills Plumbing, Signature Will and Trust, Troby's Maytag Home Appliance Center, Holland's Auto Sales, Lacey Dominic Shelter Insurance, Young's Tire and Wheel, Young's Auto Repair, American Heritage Realtors, Atkinson Funeral Home, Cider House, Amazing Photography, who's here today, Schroeder Chiropractic, Hometown Flooring, Excalibur Contracting, The Girls, who provided a lot of the clothing for today to be able to take out to Hope Haven, Young's Construction, Land and Sand, Power Sports and Turf, Aflac Jerion Sasonis, The Barber's Edge, Church and Dwight, Sherwood Community Bank, and Yard D Signs, Cass County, who provided the sign for us today, was on the radio with us earlier today talking about, her business and how it took off after COVID. So we've got to, not only thank all these sponsors, but also hopefully, allow you to know who's sponsoring and helping with us, so you can go and patronize their local businesses. Because, obviously COVID's been a bad thing for a lot of businesses that have either gone out of business or had financial struggles. And, I think we've been lucky here in Cass County. We've taken a position to maybe try to not to be quite as restrictive, which has allowed a lot of people to come down and shop here, which has allowed a lot of our businesses to continue to not go out of business. So I got to tell you, I'm very proud of that. One thing, I was looking at the weather a while ago. People may or may not be watching that. Looks like we're starting to get some snow. So from my background, I'm going to say, please, this evening, they were expecting 1 to 3 inches. I don't know if we'll get that or not, but please be careful on your travels, either going home from the games from this or traveling someplace maybe to go watch a Super Bowl or have a party tonight. Please be careful, stay safe and healthy, and only drive to the speed of the road conditions that are available. My public service announcement from the Missouri State Highway Patrol.
And in talking about that, we go into tomorrow. Be smart.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't be stupid. I mean, I don't like to use that word. Braxton get on to me, so that's a bad word, stupid. But seriously, use proper judgment tomorrow. I know somebody is going to go out there and they're going to have fun at the Super Bowl party. Chiefs are winning. If you have too much, call somebody. Have them come get you. It takes 5 seconds, and it takes 5 seconds to make the wrong decision, and it changed somebody's life forever.
And that 5 seconds could turn into a 1 second accident that could kill somebody and or injure somebody seriously. Nowadays, it's senseless too, because you can call friends, you can call cabs, you can call Uber or any other service that provides that. A lot of them, different times provide free service, like on over New Year's and stuff. So really, there's no reason to get out on the road when you have so many opportunities of people you can call to get you in a place, or stay where you're at, one of the two.
And unfortunately, you, I'm sure, have had to be a part of some of those accidents over the years, and that's one of probably the toughest phone calls you got to make, or one of the toughest things you got to do.
You do all those in person, and that is, I will tell you, that is the absolute worst part of our job, or excuse me, not our job. I'm not doing it anymore, but of the job of any officer. And actually, I think I made a post on that recently on something that was talked about as far as giving death notifications. It's the worst part of the job, especially when it's a child. And I've had to do all the way from ranges of young to old, and it really doesn't make any difference. It's just very hard when it's a child.
Isabella Johnson, as you were talking about that, Isabella Johnson playing post, and she just posted up, and a couple of the girls from Pleasant Hill were like, yeah, I'm not going to try to guard her anymore, as she was able to clear things out and try to get a shot off right there. So good.
Nice play.
Great play inbounds. Just misses it is Anna Tews for the McEnaney team of Harrisonville. She had a good shot at it, just couldn't quite come up with it. So that was a nice attempt at a shot there. And now there's a ball, good steal, and here comes back the other way. Ball up, no good. Rebound by Pleasant Hill. And I couldn't tell you who is on Pleasant Hill because they have numbers on their back, but you can't read them. I'm pretty sure that was Alexis with the red hair down there, number 5, that stole that one. I finally did see, yeah, you can barely see him when they turn sideways. I guess they were not ready for anybody to be broadcasting a game today.
Obviously not. 1:10 left in the fourth. Pleasant Hill still up 10-4. Harrisonville is going to have to do a lot of work in the last minute and 10 seconds to be able to come back and tie this. So,
long throw down to Pleasant Hill. I'm going to talk about all the girls on both teams. For Harrisonville, it was Julia Davis, number 4, Isabella Johnson, number 7, Josh Lynn Lavlock, number 3, Sadie Love, number 5, Kamara Mitchell, number 1, Avery Spangler, number 6, and Anna Tews, number 2. And for Pleasant Hill, Chloe, number 2, Sadie's number 6, Rise, number 7, Alexis, number 5, Kennedy, number 8, MJ, number 9, and Gabby, number 1. Remember, if you're watching and you may have a relative in this game, be sure to tell your other relatives that are here at the game, or their parents might be here watching their daughter play, that you can go online and you can watch this game back on our 4T's streaming page on YouTube. You can always reach all of our games. We have games all the way back to the 2016 state playoff run of the Wildcats that we have on our YouTube page. Subscribe, ring the bell, and you can be updated on all of our future broadcasts coming up on 4T's. We've got, speaking of future broadcasts, we'll get to those in the last game of the day, because we got a busy couple of weeks coming up for you for 4T's broadcasting. 33.9 seconds to go in this one. Harrisonville needs to get a shot and get a bucket quick here and maybe get a timeout called. Trying to get it up, and the ball bounces around, out of bounds. See whose ball it'll be here. So this is the 5th and 6th grade girls division. And, this is almost like you 5th and 6th grade girls. These girls that are 6th graders, they're going to be middle schoolers next year. They're going to be into the middle school, and they're going to be more into the basketball program. So a lot of these girls that are 6th graders will be in the junior high program, and they'll be a little bit more hands-on with the high school coaches at that point, as they're going to start trying to figure out who they're going to have coming up over the next several years. So,
and in the next 3 years, they're going to be there's going to be some that are going to be freshmen. Who knows? There may be a freshman out there that's going to be starting for them or starting as a sophomore. So, in just a few years, you're going to see these young ladies out there on the court playing for your high school Wildcats.
And your Chicks of Pleasant Hill as well.
And your Chicks of Pleasant Hill as well. That's correct.
So 3.1 seconds to go. Pleasant Hill had a great shot down at the other end, made it an 8-point game, pretty much made it academic. Ball bounces around, and that's going to do it for game number 7 of our 8 games today. We'll send it back to the studio, and we'll be back with our last game. Find us on YouTube for game number 8 coming up in about
11 minutes.
11 minutes. We'll be back.